Because one can't change everything in a go. It's not easy. There's a lot of challenges. But I wouldn't, as I said, so I wouldn't go and say that this is my high, this is my low. I go through it every day.
But there's a lot of complaints from the urban residents here that they're not getting water. When the nutritional status is down, then you have wasting, you have stunting, and because of which a lot of young people drop out of the system.
Again, a very relative point of view. Some will look at it from one angle, some will look at it from other angle. But I think overall, we have tried to do our best.
Good evening, viewers. We are here with the Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Mr. Conrad K Sangma, and this is a special interview, part of a series of interviews that we are planning to do for the Shillong Times. I am Patricia Mukim, editor of the Shillong Times. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Hong.
Thank you for giving us this time to be with you. So we want to have a very informal conversation, actually.
Sure.
And the first question I want to ask you is, how do you rate the performance of your government in these 3.5 years?
Well, it's always difficult to rate because what do you rate it against, and what is a standard for rating? So there's not always a benchmark that is clearly defined, and sometimes in some people's mind, certain work is rated higher. In some people's minds, certain work is rated lower. So therefore, it's not always a simple question. But if you were to ask me in a very generic way, we have done our best in terms of whatever we could in development index. Because I strongly feel that there are 2-3 areas that one should look at. So when you look at development, I'm not here to compare, but there is no other way but to look at past records and benchmarks and move forward. So we have seen that in the last 3.5 years, really from the development aspect, in spite of the challenges we faced, there has been considerable growth in economic development that has taken place in the state. Whether to talk of roads, that in the previous years, before we took over in 7-8 years' time, about 900 kilometers of roads were made in PMGSY, whereas we achieved almost 1800 kilometers in a matter of 3.5 years. We had immunization, which was at 45%, before we took over, and today we are at a 91%. If you talk of different aspects of Jal Jeevan Mission, so we were at 1% water through tap to the households, functional tap household connections, and today we are over 30% in a matter of 3.5 years.
There's a lot of complaints from the urban residents here that they're not getting water.
Exactly. I'm not here to go into specific issues. I agree that everything is not perfect. It can never be. Governance is a very complex process. I'm giving you a generic point of view. So I agree with you in that. And I keep telling people that we have made 1800 kilometers of PMGSY road, and somebody suddenly sends a picture on WhatsApp and says, well, what about my road? So it's always like that. So therefore, I told you that really what is the benchmark of good governance or benchmark of rating a government? It's very relative. But I feel that we have done pretty decently when it comes to development aspects. We have had a lot of challenges in law and order, which is another very important pillar for any government. And I strongly feel that one could look at that from an angle saying that, well, there were a lot of issues. But on the other hand, one can look at it and say that, well, lives were not lost during those very challenging and difficult times. Again, a very relative point of view. Some will look at it from one angle, some will look at it from other angle. But I think overall, we have tried to do our best. We have tried to address important issues like the border issue that we have faced. The way our government has gone into details of finding out the issues in every village level, it has not been done before. Site visits being made, multiple meetings taking place, surveys being done. So we are very committed.
You're talking of the border issues.
I'm talking of the border issue. For example, the sweeper colony issue. The HLC has submitted its report. We have taken it up in the cabinet today. So there is a concerted effort to really also try and resolve a lot of pending issues also. Not easy, but we are trying to do our best. So am I satisfied? I would say no, because there's a lot more to be done. But yes, I've seen that the team, officials as well as the cabinet, has done a lot to do whatever the best. And when we look back, it's satisfactory, but I should say a lot more needs to be done.
So if there is a state performance grading system, and looking at the PGI reports and the NSSO survey, which finds Meghalaya's educational status abysmal, also the nutritional status, which I think is very disconcerting, what do you think your government can do more in these two areas of concern? Because when the nutritional status is down, then you have wasting, you have stunting, and because of which a lot of young people drop out of the system.
Sure. So, these are again inherent systematic problems that we have faced. The education system for many years has faced a number of challenges. Again, no one is to blame. It's just that it's a systematic problem that continued. Again, in terms of malnutrition also, there's been many systematic problems. So I'm not trying to shrug off my responsibility, but the fact remains that it's not that it started on 2018. Yeah, it has been a systematic and continuous problem.
What I'm trying to see is if you can collaborate with institutions like NESFAS and all, which look essentially at nutrition.
Yeah. So if you noticed in the last 3 years, we have been really focusing on SAM and MAM children and on the overall issues of stunting, issues of malnutrition. And you'll be happy to know that we have been able to reduce almost 90% of such cases. So where we were at 19,000 cases in 2018 before we took over, today we are down to less than 2,000 cases. So you're actually seeing that after continuous monitoring. So what we do is, it's not simple. It's a lot of work to be done, but our team has been very consistent. They have been continuously talking and engaging with the officials at the grassroots. Weekly meetings take place. So for 3 years, having weekly meetings is not a joke, and our team has done that, and the results have shown. Similarly, if you look at in education also, a lot of challenges in education, but small steps being taken to improve the system are making differences. I'll just tell you examples like rationalization of teachers. Now, there was a time when there were some schools that had 3 teachers and 5 students, and some schools which had 200 students and 1 teacher. And so therefore, the schools used to demand that they should increase the appointment of teachers. But all it required was a rationalization among the existing teachers. So without increasing our cost, we were actually able to give the schools who had more students the extra teachers, close down some of the schools which were not really having the numbers, 2, 3, some even 0, and yet having 2, 3 teachers. So small steps like these have been done. In education, for the first time, we have provided infrastructure to the government LP schools to close to about 350 schools till now. We are also already doing 200 more, and 100 more by the end of this year, and 200 more next year, which means 700 government LP schools which have been neglected many years, don't even have a roof, don't even have windows, furnitures, today will have brand new buildings. So these are important, but these are only certain aspects of education. The teacher's quality is important. The standard of the quality of teaching has to go up. The managing committees have to improve. The overall, monitoring at the grassroots, whether teachers are attending or not, whether classes are taking place or not. All these aspects to be seen. But I'm hopeful that with these few interventions, and hopefully many more in the future, it will improve.
Some strict monitoring like used to happen with the inspectorate, inspecting schools.
Absolutely. These are the areas which we need to work on. But yes, it's a process, but a lot of things have started. I'm hopeful that we will see differences and changes coming in.
Mm-hmm. I last came here in October, no, not October, in 2019, July, to invite you for that program, the October 2nd program.
Yes.
And we discussed a lot of environmental issues which are of great concern to us. We formed a group called Operation Cleanup, and we're cleaning up the rivers every Saturday. But we realized it's a futile activity because, there is no system in place. So I'm wondering if there is a plan in this government for river rejuvenation.
Yes, there is. In fact, there is a 250 crore project which is lying with the government of India right now as we speak for rejuvenation of Shirpi and Wamukra and Shirpi both. I have spoken to the concerned minister and he has shown great interest. There was a proposal, actually the technologies changed, and because of that there was certain delay, but it's in the pipeline, and this in fact was a culmination of the discussions that we had that time, and also the desires of the people, and the communication that came to me. So these projects were taken up because of the change in the technology at the central level, because central government is doing a lot to rejuvenate rivers everywhere. So they are experimenting with different technologies. So they've managed to find technology which is cheaper than what we had proposed at that time, which was a fluent treatment plant technology. So they changed certain factors. I'm hopeful that we will get some response within this financial year itself. But apart from that also, it's important that society as a whole does come in, because just cleaning it by the government is one process, but it cannot be something that we depend on entirely. So the public and community must participate. The areas and the people, if they take care of their garbage and don't throw it into the nala and the rivers, then then it's like the work will become easier. So I mean, through this platform I would like to urge that communities, and the way you have been volunteering and coming out, we need those kind of movements. But from the government side, yes, there is a program on this, not just this river. There are some streams and rivers in Tura as well as in Juwai and Nongstoin, all of them also in the pipeline, but government wants to see that we implement these two properly first, and then I'm hopeful that the others also will be taken up.
So on October 2nd, 2019, in the presence of thousands of students, we had taken a pledge together that we will try and reduce the use or ban plastic bags, because they are a huge nuisance to the environment. But that hasn't happened, and today I saw a notification from the Sikkim government saying that they're going to ban all plastic bottles from January the 2nd of 2022. So isn't this a necessity, rather an imperative for Meghalaya, which is a hill state, and it really can't sustain this amount of plastics?
Yeah, so in this case it's like this. Plastic is an important part of the day-to-day activity of the people. So one cannot simply take it out without finding an alternative to it. So it has to be done in a phase-wise process manner. For example, all plastics less than 50 microns. So those have been banned by our state. So therefore, it's a start where the ones that are really not recyclable.
But there isn't any supervision. So those thin plastics, which are less than 50 microns, are still coming in. You find people selling meat and packing them in those.
Yeah. So that's exactly the point, that there has to be supervision. I agree with you. There has to be policy that has to come in, and which has come in now. There has to be monitoring, supervision. But at the same time, there has to be also alternative arrangements that have to be made. So if you remember, we had promoted and pushed, and one young entrepreneur, 2-3 of them had come forward and made the biodegradable plastics. So those are being promoted very well, and they're doing very well. So it's important to understand that yes, certain things are not good for the system, but when the dependency is very high, it's not possible for us to simply take it away from the market without really giving the alternative. So it's a process that needs to be followed.
Maybe these people who actually import plastics, suppose we sit across the table and discuss it out with them, because I think stakeholder participation is important. Sure.
In fact, I mean, just to add to what you said, that there have been raids made in 2-3 locations who were hoarding and keeping this kind of plastics. So these actions have been done, but then, as I said, we do realize that there is a system in place for the public, and we need to be able to create those kind of alternatives, and that is where the challenges come in. So until unless we are able to see that more of this biodegradable plastics coming in, people start using it, people being ready to spend on it a bit more, these challenges will be there. But yes, you're right, more needs to be done. From the government side, we are very much aware of these issues. And once the support is there from everybody, once we start moving, once we're able to find alternative solutions, slowly and steadily we hope to reduce it. And a target should be kept that in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, at least 50% reduction, 100% reduction can be achieved. So this kind of policy will be looked into.
So we come to a very, very controversial topic, which is the oil palm cultivation.
Sure.
Is Meghalaya going to accept it or reject it?
It will all depend on how the entire scheme of things works out. A plantation, whether it's palm oil or whether it's rubber, any kind of monocrop, monoculture has impact. So it's not just palm oil that is the villain. All monocropping and monoculture has got its impact, because simple logic that the same plant type will take away the nutrients from the soil, and therefore the other nutrients will not be taken. And that's why biodiversity is important. So we all know that. So now when it comes to palm oil, I have maintained today, in fact, we had a very nice program on natural resource management. And I started off my discussion and my speech with mentioning that this entire issue of environment and climate change that we talk about has two aspects to it: livelihood, economy, and on the other side, the ecology and the environment. At the end of the day, it is because of the livelihood aspect that the ecology and the environment gets hurt. We need to strike a balance between the two. So what my answer to your question is that while we look at palm oil being a source of income and being a source of livelihood for the people, with the kind of support that Government of India is giving, could we work on a way where we do not harm the environment in the way it may harm? Can we minimize the damages? Can we balance the aspect of livelihood through palm oil with the support that government is giving?
It's very water intensive, no?
Yeah. So all those aspects. So my answer is very simple. If we can strike a balance, and if we can maintain minimum damage to the environment, taking all the aspects into consideration, yes, we would look into it. But if we're going to find that it's going to be extremely damaging for us, and if you find that it's something that is going to compromise the entire environment, then obviously it's something we will not look into, we will not consider.
Now I'll come to a very interesting topic as far as you are concerned. How do you see the present dissension in the Congress playing out in the state of Meghalaya?
See, dissensions are...
And in other states as well, Punjab for instance.
See, every party goes through a phase, and it'll be unfair for me to say that that this doesn't happen to others. Problems are there in parties and families. Everybody has their problems. Congress is going through a difficult phase. There's a leadership crisis, and maybe it is stemming from the national leadership that is not there as of now, and kind of a division in that and no decision being taken. So therefore it's a phase they're going through. It's obviously damaging them. It's damaging them at the national level with so many people leaving. It is damaging them at the regional level. Definitely in the state of Meghalaya, we have clearly seen, it's not something I'm trying to politically mention for my political gain, but clearly we are seeing that there's a huge division within the Congress party. So yes, it's a difficult time for them, and they will go through it. Every democratic party goes through it.
Do you ever see the NPP and Congress working together at some point?
See, traditionally, my father was always in the Congress. He was expelled from the Congress. A lot of people think he left the Congress, but a lot of people don't realize that he was expelled. And obviously the political situation developed in such a manner that we were always pitched against the Congress. So it's not the easiest thing for us to do, to work with the Congress. So the answer is that we have not thought about it in that line yet, and there is no thinking. Right now we are working towards strengthening our party. We have found a purpose in what we do. We feel that NPP stands for the Northeast and takes up the issues. So we find that purpose driving us, and so looking at coalition partners right now that we'll go with A, B, C, D is not really something that we're really exploring in a very, very broad way. We're focusing on strengthening our party.
So this government has seen a lot of allegations of scams, and then you have these inquiry commissions and all. As a first-time party in governance, don't you think it takes away from the credibility of the NPP, of the whole MDA combined?
True, when these kind of allegations come, it does, affect us. But allegations are part of, a democracy. Allegations are part of a government, and it is the job, I should say, of opposition to bring out allegations. It's the job of anti-government agencies to bring out allegations. But these are allegations, and therefore the concrete evidence is not there. People bring out documents, bring out people, and that is the reason why now if we run away from it and we say, well, we're not going to do anything about it, then I would accept that yes, we are not, we're not being transparent. But I've been very firm, very clear, and very swift when it comes to transparency, and I've allowed any kind of inquiry, judicial, to come in all issues. I don't think there's been a single issue where I have walked out or stepped back. I've allowed the inquiry to take place wherever it was required or asked for, and so therefore the transparency is there, and let the inquiries come out, facts will come out, people will know the facts then. So therefore, as I said, allegations are part of almost every government, but allegations don't mean that they are confirmed, cases of scam or confirmed cases of corruption. These are allegations, and all governments go through this process.
So how do you see the NPP performing in the coming years? How do you consolidate your strength, considering you're a national party, but you do not really have a presence in the nation? Your presence is basically regional. What are your long-term plans?
The NPP has a very unique actually positioning. As you correctly said, we are the only party from the Northeast that has a national status, and we are the only party that is made up of the Northeast states. So having a national status, but being from the Northeast, gives us that uniqueness to be able to really pitch ourselves like no other party can. And that's the reason why I strongly feel that there's a certain sense of appeal that our youngsters especially have. And when it comes to regional and national politics, keeping the local issues aside, there is a sense that there should be a platform, there should be a team, there should be people who should speak about the interests of the Northeast in general, because so many issues are there that affect us. So NPP is trying to fill that vacuum and that space in the political arena of the nation as well as of the Northeast. And that's how we're moving forward. We have elections coming up in Manipur in February, and I'm very happy to tell you that we are getting a lot of positive response, a lot of very, very good candidates, educated people, people who are retired, former administrators. They're joining our party and showing a lot of confidence in that. So I'm hopeful that we will do better in our performance in Manipur compared to the last Manipur election. Results will be better. Similarly, our organization in Arunachal Pradesh, organization in Nagaland, and obviously in other states of the Northeast also is growing. It's not easy. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to create miracles. Every process requires time and hard work, but we're ready to give that hard work. And as I said, what is most important is that the sense of purpose is put in forward, and that's what's driving all of us, including my entire team. And I'm sure that with that purpose in front and the youth connecting to that purpose, I'm sure that there will be a lot of positive growth for the NPP in the region and hopefully in the country as a whole also.
So we are all aware about the regrouping of the HNLC and perhaps other groups in Garo Hills. And you know how the public perception is that when governance is weak, then all these actors, underground actors start playing up. So how do you plan to tackle this? And there are also public perceptions that this government is rather, it is patronizing the HNLC, giving them contract works and all that. I'm talking about public perception.
Right. That is not correct at all. I mean, there could be individuals who are registered and who have followed the procedure, and they happen to be somebody who's got contact with somebody. I'm not aware of those things. But there is no policy as such that we will patronize somebody and give. But even if we were giving, I'm not aware of this, but even if we were, if somebody has come into the mainstream, there is no harm in supporting them. If you don't support them, they will maybe go back. So it's got both sides, it's a double-edged kind of a sword. So that's one. Number two, you see the overall economic, we have to understand that militancy comes from socio-economic problems. It's not that somebody wants to go into militancy, but when there are economic constraints, problems that people face, and people see opportunities to make easy money, this is when it builds up the militancy. And with the history of this in the Northeast, it's easy to pull people into the system. Now, if you look at it, I'll just mention 2 points. That number one, during the COVID time, people faced a lot of issues. And because of those issues, economic hardship was there. So that also has, really put people on the back foot. Number two, because of the coal mining that stopped. A lot of people were involved in coal mining, and now it's not happening at the scale and at the way that it used to happen before. So a lot of people faced economic hardship because of that. Again, it's a long story, but nonetheless, it has built up into that issue. And third is, we've always seen a trend that as festive season arrives, you see a bit more of the hustle bustle among individuals who try to take advantage of the situation. So it happened last year also, and every year it happens that during festive
notes now that have come are demanding 10 lakhs and above. Yeah. I don't know whether you have received an extortion.
No, I have not received. So, but yes, we are aware that different people have received. But I'm just telling you the trend in general that happens. Coming to the current situation, you're aware that just yesterday we have, managed to arrest one of the key people who was involved in the overall, the person who was involved in the bombing, as well as in the placement of the bomb in IED in NPP office. At the same time, another very important person of their group has also surrendered just a few hours back. And from both of them, obviously more information is coming out to the actual network. So the police has been working very hard, and we are in the process of neutralizing. And as you have said correctly, these are not really militant groups. You cannot call them any more militant groups or any kind of other groups. They are nothing but extortionist group, technically speaking. So so we are working on that, and we are very sure that we will get success in this also, and we'll be able to neutralize this to a large extent.
So the general perception of people in this state, especially Christians, is that the BJP government is anti-Christian, and it has a very, very strong and oppressive Hindutva agenda. You have worked closely with the BJP in these last 3 years. Do you agree that there is this kind of agenda?
See, BJP has many other sister organizations that are with them. And as a political party, their agenda, they have always made it clear. And obviously the sister organizations also, who obviously help them in the election time, are very clear in their agenda also. But in my personal experience in dealing with the BJP and its leadership, at least the people that I deal with, I have not seen that kind of a hatred or any kind of a targeting that is there. In fact, there has been a lot of positive push towards how to make, how to make India truly a secular kind of a nation. They ask suggestions from me. They ask how to support them. So I personally feel, when you are you love or you have concern for your people, there's no harm in that. I mean, you might do things for your people, but as long as you don't do it by harming others, it's fine. So in my experience in the last 3.5 years, and even before that, I personally have not come across situations where the leaders who I deal with and I speak to, and that I'm talking about the top leadership in the BJP and the government, I have not come across any kind of situation or any kind of thing. In fact, on the contrary, they have a lot of focus on the Northeast. They have a lot of focus on the minorities, especially the Christians. They have a lot of focus on how to improve the overall development out here. If you've noticed and you go into the details, you will see that in the last 7 years, compared to the years before, the spending has tripled ending. So we're like touching almost about 3 lakh crores that has been spent in Northeast in the last about 2.53 lakh crores compared to 1 lakh crore that was spent in the 10 years before that. So you're actually seeing that a lot more funds are flowing into the Northeast.
You see that the ministers are also visiting very frequently. So the next question is, and I think it's a very controversial one, that Mr. Himanta Biswa Sarma, the chairman of NEDA, is taking a very keen interest in affairs of the state and perhaps even interfering.
I mean Meghalaya. Okay.
So is that true?
Not at all. Not at all. And he's always been a person who is ready to help. Now, if a person who's ready to help is seen as interfering, then, well, that's a question of how you look at it. But I have not seen or experienced in any way that he has imposed his thought or his decision or his desire on the state government or on Meghalaya. Whenever the issues have come up, he has called me, he has discussed with me, what do you think about this? When I told him, no, absolutely, this is not thing, he said, okay, just take care of your people. So I've seen that he is very keen to ensure that the region as a whole is peaceful. He wants to see that there are certain issues. Of course, he has certain issues and agendas that he would like to see and move forward, which are, part of their party's manifesto. But that does not mean that he will interfere with the day-to-day affairs or important issues concerning other states.
So my last question, what has been your personal experience as the Chief Minister? What are the high points and the low points during these 3 years? Have you been able to give enough time to the family, balance, work, family balance?
Yeah, it's in fact last 3.5 years has been more of a roller coaster, and look back and you don't realize that 3.5 years, almost 4 years have gone, and a lot of things have happened. We faced a lot of challenges, as you had mentioned. It's not been easy, but the team has been very supportive, and all the MLAs as well as officials have been supportive. From a family point of view, my family has been very supportive. Obviously, I could not give as much time as we would want it, and they've been quite away from me. But that's the nature of the work that we're in. Yeah, it's a price to pay. But thank God, with more flights and more trips and technology, we can at least see each other and talk to each other. So I have no complaints. But yes, it's been difficult. But coming to my work, I don't know whether I'll be able to come to a particular work or particular thing or particular incident where I'd say this is my high point, this is my low point. But I can just tell you that maybe I go through high and low every day. And I'll tell you what is my high and what is my low. My high is, when I actually can see a smile on somebody's face, and I can actually make a difference. And I don't mean to bring it out as an example or try to create something, but just day before yesterday, there was an old man. I had gone back from here, and I reached my house at about 12 o'clock in the night. And I was very exhausted because I had finished Moplang, everything, and traveled through Nong Stoin. I had to come back again the next day to Shillong, which is yesterday. So I reached at about 12 o'clock or 11:30, and there was an old man sitting outside, and I was told he was waiting the whole day. And he didn't have shoes, and he was wearing a very worn-out shirt. I mean, I just couldn't help it but just go and ask him, is there anything I can do, I can help? And, with a very broken voice, he mentioned, he said, can you give me, a Holy Cross house? So I said, Holy Cross house? I couldn't understand. Later on I found out he meant low-cost house. So I noted that down. I took his picture of his, his, checkbook and his passbook and everything. And we started moving on that. And, I could see the smile on his face. So I would say that's my high point, when I do that, and I can make a difference in people's lives. And obviously, low point is every time I'm not able to do it. So it's very depressing, I should say, sometimes when I sometimes go through some particular area and I see a school that's dilapidated, or I go through a road that is dilapidated, and I actually feel the bumps, and I say that those are my lows, I guess, which I go through every day, because one can't change everything in a go. It's not easy. There's a lot of challenges. But I wouldn't, as I said, so I wouldn't go and say that this is my high, this is my low. I go through it every day, and small things give me the happiness, and the small things are what make me also sad and down. And I just hope that we're able to make as much of a difference in the lives of the people as possible, and we'll continue to do that. I hope that in this next 1 year we will see many things happening, and we will be unfolding a lot of other projects which it's not appropriate for me to talk right now. And even in terms of the development aspects, that the implementation of projects that are going on. When the Honorable Prime Minister, hopefully he will come on 21st of January. When he comes, we are planning to unveil 50 projects and complete them. So, these include the Assembly Building, these include the Turas Stadium, the Shillong Stadium.
What about the Medical College?
Yeah, Medical College, we will not be able to complete it, even Garo Hills, Tura one.
No, I mean the Shillong one, which has not even taken off.
Okay, so let me break the two. So Tura one, the construction is going on, but I don't think we can finish it by 21st of January 2022, but we should be able to finish it soon. In Shillong, they had a long problem. I think you are all aware. There was an issue with the land. They wanted to change the land. The land was not changed. The decision was not taken for the longest time on that. When finally the matter was taken up, they said it's too late now, so you need to enhance the rates that were given to us, which cannot be done without going for a tendering process, because it's unfair just to simply increase the rates. So we face all those challenges, and so we need to actually examine and relook into this whole thing. There's been a lot of delay because of land issue, but we got it at a very late stage, and to be able to take a decision at that point in time was very difficult for us. So yes, it's another area of low point, as we call it, which gives me a bit of irritation when I think.
Assembly Building?
Yeah, Assembly, I'm happy. If I don't know, I'll show you a video now before you leave on my mobile, and you'll be surprised to see the size of the building. I mean, and when it's complete, I tell you, it may be one of the best in the eastern region, not just northeast region. And really, it's coming up well. And the Honorable Speaker, the contractors, they are working day and night. I hope that we'll be able to complete that by the 21st of Jan 2022. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to have a budget session from there, because that'll be beautiful on the 50th year, presenting the budget from the new assembly. If not, then it definitely will be having the autumn session there before the elections for sure. So we're expecting that anytime between January to March to April, we should be able to complete the assembly building.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chief Minister, for giving us this time. Sure. We wish you all the best. Wish you good health.
Thank you.
And
same to you. Same to you. Thank you so much for this time. Thank you.
So we are wrapping up this conversation with the Honorable Chief Minister of Meghalaya, Mr. Conrad Sangma. We had a very good time listening to you, and we hope that the audience will also know you better through this interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.